I'm so honored to be here tonight, and I want to thank each and every one of you for the work that you do on behalf of our students, our teachers, and our profession. In my 11 years of teaching, there have been so many students that have touched my heart in so many unforgettable ways. But there is one child whose story left such an impression on me, and I'd like to share it with you tonight. Sarah was an 11-year-old girl in my 6th grade class. She was extremely bright and truly wise beyond her years. She was a voracious reader who got lost in books, so much so that she would read while walking down the hallway. Sarah was always the last one to finish an assessment, and she almost always scored near perfect. She was an enthusiastic learner who loved school and relished a challenge. On paper, Sarah looked like a successful 6th grader who met academic standards. On paper, we'd celebrate. We'd send up a hallelujah, she was proficient. But what you couldn't see on paper, what only a teacher could see, was a child who would steal pencils off my desk. A child who came to school without a coat on the coldest day of the year. A child who had repeated incidents of head lice that was left untreated. A child who sat by herself in the lunchroom and walked alone aimlessly during recess time. A child who didn't know the love of her mother or father because they weren't in the picture. As her teacher, I did what I could. I purchased school supplies for her, got her extra uniform shirts, got her a jacket, shared my lunchtime with her and other students in my class, trying to foster some positive relationships for her. I did what I could, but so much more was needed. I was fiercely protective of Sarah and grew more and more concerned about her social and emotional well-being. When the conference slip was finally returned, I was encouraged that I would finally have the opportunity to voice my concerns to her grandmother. But on that day, rather than jumping right into the 20-minute sprint of reports and planned finger wagging, I was stopped in my tracks when I looked into her grandmother's sullen, weary eyes. Instead, I offered a simple, genuine, "How are you?" "Exhausted," she said. "I've been working like a dog." At my prompting, she revealed that each day she leaves for work at 12 midnight. Work for her ends at 3 p.m. the next day, which she cheerfully told me allows her just enough time for her to welcome her 4 grandchildren off of the school bus. Then it's homework time, dinner time, bath time, and at 8 p.m. it's bedtime for everyone, including her. She sleeps for 4 hours, sometimes less, a glorified power nap at best, only to begin the process all over again the next day. Her grandmother worked full-time, earning minimum wage, and worked overtime whenever possible. She had to. She was the sole provider for her family of 6. Listening, I was rendered speechless. It all made sense suddenly. Sarah's grandmother was not apathetic or negligent. She was extremely invested in her education and loved her granddaughter more than anything in the world. She wanted the best for Sarah, but she had no choice. She could not afford to miss a day of work. If she did, how would their rent be paid? What money would they have for groceries, lights, or heat? This was about survival. She worked so hard because she cared so deeply for her grandchild, and she was truly doing the best she could. I share Sarah's story to offer a mere glimpse into the challenges that so many of our families face. Unfortunately, stories like these are not uncommon. I think of the child who was meeting his goal on his behavior chart 85% or better of the time, and then suddenly it all took a nosedive. Well, I learned that his house had burnt down, and his family was now homeless. I think of the child in my science class, a bright boy, bright enough to be in our gifted and talented program, who stopped doing homework and whose scores plummeted on lab reports and assessments. He told me with tears in his eyes that his family was going to be evicted from their home, and his parents were always arguing because of it. He said he couldn't concentrate living in this stressful situation. I think of the girl in my class who politely asked if she could take the extra snacks left at the end of the day home with her to share with her younger sister and brother because there wasn't any food at home. Poverty is a problem that cannot be ignored. It is estimated that 50% of United States public school students are living in poverty. The United States has the highest childhood poverty rate of all industrialized nations. Here in Connecticut, 10% of our households fall under the poverty level. For a family of 4, the poverty level means surviving on a mere $23,850 a year. That's for 4 people. Many have argued that the federal poverty level is much too low, and current research suggests that on average, families need an income that is twice the federal poverty level just to afford basic expenses. Well, here in Connecticut, 1 out of 4 families fall short of this marker. They are the working poor. This is not just an urban problem. In the last 10 years, 52,000 more students here in Connecticut have qualified for free or reduced lunch. And most of these children live in the suburbs. So what does poverty have to do with education, and why does this matter to us as teachers? It matters because here in Connecticut, we maintain the nation's widest achievement gap. The nation's report card, a U.S. Department of Education test given to students in every state, shows that Connecticut continues to have the largest achievement gap between its minority students and their peers. But it should come as no surprise that Connecticut also boasts the largest economic gap in the nation as well. Let me make clear what so many of us here already know. The achievement gap is synonymous with the economic gap. Rigorous standards, accountability, and ensuring that every child is a high-quality teacher are all imperative to the success of our schools. However, unless we address the root cause of poverty, the most well-intentioned reform efforts will fall short, and we will continue to spin our wheels. We've been told that there is nothing that we can do about poverty, that it's too big for us to tackle, too political, that it's beyond our control. But we cannot forget that education is the great equalizer. For our students who come from impoverished homes, education equates to opportunity and is the key to leveling the playing field. Teachers play an instrumental role in helping students lift themselves up out of poverty through the gift of their education. I'm not naive to think that we can solve the world's problems overnight, but collectively we have the power to advocate for real and tangible things that will make a difference for our poorest students and families. First, we can insist that the state's educational cost-sharing grant is completely funded. We can push for universal, free pre-K programs for all of our children living in priority school districts. We can protect funding for the vitally important wraparound services that meet the social, emotional, and medical needs of our students. and we can make phone calls, send emails, and meet with our legislators and tell them that we demand action on these issues. These are the simple things that will make a profound difference for our kids. Nelson Mandela said, "Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. As teachers, we are the champions of equity and justice. As teachers, as citizens who vote, we can make these ideas a reality." Thank you.